movie Hidden Figures highlights the contribution of the African American woman at NASA, and one of the primary sources that support this historical account is the autobiography by Katherine Johnson, which is My Remarkable Journey. Okay, so in her book, she shares first-hand experiences working as a NASA mathematician during segregation. A major moment in both the movie and her book is when John Glenn personally requests Katherine to verify the flight calculations. This confirmed the accuracy of the film's portrayal. Since it is written by Katherine herself, her autobiography provides direct insight into her struggles and achievement, making it a valuable primary source.
And for the second primary source, we took it from the NASA's official webpage, From Hidden to Modern Figures, highlights the honors of African American women who made important contributions to space exploration, such as Katherine Johnson, Mary Jackson, and Dorothy Vaughan. These women helped shape NASA's success despite facing discrimination. In 2024, they were awarded Congressional Gold Medals for their work. NASA also promotes diversity in STEM and provides educational resources to inspire future generations.
The strength of the movie as historical evidence is that the movie effectively portrays the systematic racism and sexism of the era, including the segregated facilities and the barriers faced by women of colors in science and technology fields. This is an accurate reflection of social and cultural challenges of the time, making it a valuable resource for understanding these dynamics.
The weaknesses of the movie is that the movie condenses events and timeline to fit a cinematic format which can misrepresent the scope and the duration of the women's contribution. For example, Katherine Johnson's achievements span decades, not just the brief period shown in the movie. Dorothy Vaughan became a supervisor years before the events depicted, and Mary Jackson's engineering journey took longer and was more complex than portrayed.
To test the credibility of the movie, we looked into Margot Lee Shetterly, the author of the book that the movie was based on. Margot Lee Shetterly is a researcher and an expert in non-fictional writing. Margot started her research by interviewing Katherine in the year 2000, which entailed interviewing several NASA computers from the 1940s and 1950s. If a computer had passed away, she spoke to their family members. She also talked to engineers who worked with these women as well as former NASA executives. We have found that some events are accurate and some are dramatized. For example, the contributions of Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Mary Jackson to NASA during the space race were accurate. However, the women did not experience intense racial segregations while working at NASA, unlike how it was depicted in the movie. This can be proven through interviews done with the women and NASA's website.
As for the test of corroboration, the events that occurred in the movie can be proven through its corroboration with other reliable sources, like the event of Katherine Johnson's verification of John Glenn's calculation. Not only in the movie did this event occur, but also has been proven by NASA of how this event really did occur in real life.
There are two anachronisms that can be identified in the movie. The first one is the IBM installation date. The film shows that the IBM 7090 computer being installed at NASA in 1961, which in reality, it was actually being installed in 1964. The filmmakers condensed the timeline to keep the story focused and dramatic, rather than showing the event spread over several years. The second one is the use of modern-day expressions. Some phrases and casual conversations in the movie feel more like 21st century speech rather than the early 1960s conversation. The reason is actually to make the conversation feel more natural and relatable for the modern viewers instead of feeling overly stiff or outdated.
One of the most inspiring figures in Hidden Figures is Mary Jackson, who fought to become NASA's first black female engineer. However, her journey was not easy. During that time, African American women faced both racial and gender discrimination. To become an engineer, Mary needed additional courses, which were courses that were only available at an all-white school. Since black students were not allowed, she had to petition the court to gain access. It also has an impact on local history. Mary Jackson's determination wasn't just personal, it was part of a mega movement. Her fight reflected the civil rights movements push for equal education, and help open doors for more African American women in STEM. We can verify her story through premises such as NASA's official record, court documents from her case, and oral histories from NASA archive. The key fact from Hidden Figures is Mary Jackson's court petition. This actually happened when she convinced the judge to let her attend the segregated classes, a huge step in her journey to becoming an engineer. Overall, her story teaches us an important lesson. If you keep pushing forward, no matter how many obstacles stand in your way, you can create real change. Mary Jackson did not accept any limitation, but she challenged the system and changed history.
One reason that led to Dorothy Vaughan become the first black supervisor at NASA is the introduction of IBM computers threatened the job of human computers, pushing Dorothy to adapt and learn programming. Dorothy's leadership skills and initiative in learning Fortran made her an essential asset to NASA. To operate the new IBM machines efficiently, NASA needs skilled programmers like Dorothy. One local historical implication of Dorothy Vaughan becoming the first black supervisor at NASA, as shown in Hidden Figures, is the increased recognition of African American leadership in STEM fields. Hence, to ensure that her legacy continues to influence future generations, her story has inspired local initiatives to encourage diversity in STEM education. These activities has included naming, buildings, and streets in her honor. The other source of Dorothy Vaughan become the first black supervisor at NASA is Vaughan's biography and interviews with former NASA employees. Dorothy Vaughan's promotion to the position of supervisor in the West Area Computing Unit is well documented in NASA's history, and her expertise in programming helps move the transition to IBM computers at NASA. We can look through Margot Lee Shetterly's Hidden Figures 2016, which is the book on which the movie is based, provides detailed information about Vaughan's career. Dorothy Vaughan was the first black female supervisor at NASA in 1949. She taught herself and her team the programming language Fortran to work with IBM computers. NASA achieved confirmed her pivotal roles in transitioning from human computers to digital computing.
The reason that led to the event is NASA was transitioning from human computers to electronic computers, but early computers were prone to errors. So, John Glenn trusted human calculation more than machine-generated one, showing his faith in experts like Catherine. The acknowledgement of African American contribution to science and space exploration, especially in Hampton, Virginia, the home of NASA's Langley Research Center, is actually a significant implication of Katherine Johnson's calculation for John Glenn's orbit, as shown in Hidden Figures. As a result, there are now more initiatives to commemorate Johnson and black mathematicians in local history, such as renaming buildings, streets, and schools to ensure that their legacy lives on in the community. One example of other historical sources that related to the scene of Katherine Johnson's calculation for John Glenn's orbit is the Katherine Johnson's biography and NASA archives. The historical record confirmed that John Glenn requested Katherine Johnson to personally check the computer's calculation before his flight, trusting her expertise due to the accuracy of her earlier work. One example of the fact from the movie in the scene of Katherine Johnson's calculation for John Glenn's orbit is that John Glenn did request Katherine Johnson to verify the trajectory calculation for his 1962 orbital flight, saying check the girl to check the numbers. This is documented in NASA record and interviews with Katherine Johnson herself. However, in the movie, the event was a bit exaggerated and simplified. In reality, Katherine Johnson checked multiple calculations over several days, not at the last minute. One lesson that can be learned from the event is that the importance of expertise in overcoming adversity. Katherine Johnson's calculation for John Glenn's flight show the importance of precision, trust, and breaking barriers. Even when Katherine is considered colored, John Glenn trusted her manual calculation over NASA's early computers, proving that expertise and reliability will always be recognized in the face of adversity.
One of the events shown in the movie is the friendship and collaboration among the women. The reason is due to the shared experience of racial and gender discrimination created a strong bond among them. They work in the same department, which is the West Area Computing Unit, allowing them to support each other daily. The lack of institutional support for black women pushed them to rely on each other for encouragement and professional growth. The recognition of the power of community and support networks in overcoming racial and gender barriers is one of the local historical implications of the friendship and collaboration among the women in Hidden Figures. This has inspired local initiatives that promote mentorship programs for women in STEM, historical commemoration of Black women's contributions to NASA, and community efforts to preserve and share their stories, ensuring their legacy continues to inspire future generations. The sources of this event includes the oral histories from the women themselves, including interviews conducted later in their lives, as well as biographical accounts such as Chatterley's Hidden Figures. The women's mutual support and camaraderie are central to their stories, and their relationships are highlighted in various historical interviews. References are from Hidden Figures by Margaret Lee Chatterley, which draws from interviews and archival research on the lives and contributions of these women. Another proven fact from the movie is the space race with the Soviet Union. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1, starting the space race. In response, the US created NASA to compete. The pressure increased in 1961 when the Soviets sent Yuri Gagarin, the first human in space. In return, NASA accelerated the Mercury and Apollo programs to catch up. The lesson from this event is the power of unity. Despite facing racial and gender discrimination, the women stood by each other, offering encouragement and sharing knowledge. This teaches us that having a strong support system and working together can break barriers, create opportunities, and lead to groundbreaking achievements. It also highlights that progress is not just about individual success, but about uplifting others along the way.
A reason that led to the segregated workspaces at NASA was the Jim Crow law that enforced racial segregation in public spaces, including government institutions like NASA. The societal norms of the 1960s still upheld racial discrimination, especially in professional environments. The implication of the segregated workspaces is locals started to acknowledge and preserve African American history. Racial barriers experienced by Black scientists and engineers were highlighted by the events, which prompted initiatives to record and disseminate their experiences. This has led to the creation of historical markers, museum displays, and educational programs that honor the accomplishments and hardships of Black NASA employees, guaranteeing their place in local history. Other historical resources to prove the segregated workspaces at NASA is the accounts of segregation in the workplace during the 1960s at NASA, such as personal stories of the women who worked there and NASA's internal documents from that era that describes the segregated facilities. Also, Katherine Johnson's own recollection in interviews confirmed that she used the whites-only bathroom to save time. An accurately proven fact from the movie is Langley Research Center in Virginia that followed segregation laws at the time, with separate restrooms, dining areas, and workspace for Black employees. An important lesson to learn is the importance of standing up to equality. Katherine Johnson faced racial segregation at NASA that costed her valuable work time. This experience highlights the struggles of racial discrimination in the workplace and the importance of standing up for equality.